Hi, this is Paul Cunnington, and I am a student of the mind. I'm also a mentor, and today I'm going to talk about what is it that mentors do and coaches, certainly from my perspective and the people who have worked with me. Now, I began my journey at first not looking for anybody like who's got a title of a coach or a mentor. I went to therapists and counselors and psychotherapists, I suppose, whatever they're called. They've all got different names, and they're all great. They're all great. I'm not saying anything, I'm not knocking them at all. But it wasn't what I was really seeking. They didn't really have the answers to what I was really looking for. And I found that it would be great when I was talking to them, and they were always lovely, but everything kept coming back. In the long term, nothing really got any better. And so that was the first thing. When I went looking for a coach, um, I was already searching. I wanted answers. You're already looking for these people. It's just a matter, for me, it was once I found somebody that, really resonated with me, and also a person that I trusted that was doing the coaching, somebody that I knew, and I knew reasonably, but I'd come to trust, and then I just started, and that was difficult at first because you're trying to, you're already got all these other feelings going on, and now you're trying to apply your mind to something. And as I say, I really wanted someone to just throw up all the answers to me and just say, look, all you have to do is this, this, and this. Um, and the first thing the coach I worked with, and certainly for myself, I would do the same, is you start to learn. A coach will show you how the world works and how we work fundamentally. And I learned all about energy, I learned about the universe, I learned about all these things that, to be honest, I wasn't really sure what to think. I think I was so desperate to learn what was going on. I'd got to the point where I was willing to listen to anything. But there were things that it was odd. It was odd. Particularly this thing about energy, and then now and again someone would talk about God, and I thought, well, no. This isn't a religious thing. This is not, what's God? Don't fine. Tell me about science, but I begin to worry about what sort of coach they are when they start talking about God. And I didn't associate the two at all. I didn't understand. But, even though there was some weird stuff there, I stuck with it because there was some things at first that I learned about that I'd never known before in my life about how my mind worked and how I'd been programmed. And there was something in my intuition, something inside of me that was telling me, this is true. This is true. This is really how it is. You've never known it during your life so far, but what this person is telling you, no matter how hard it seems to understand or to, take in at first, I can feel in my heart that what they're telling me is true. So I think what a mentor does, I will be doing things to make you think. Now, you'll be thinking perhaps, I already think, certainly I would have thought that if my coach had started to tell me that at first, and instead of just going straight into all the other stuff, I didn't even realize that was starting to make me think. But we have thoughts that are being run by our unconscious pretty much all the time, and we are not aware of it. So when someone's kind of starting to learn how to free their minds, I always think when I was a little boy and I went on a school trip to a farm, and of course you get shown around everywhere, and the only thing that really stuck in my mind, and I never forgot, was they took us into this barn warehouse, and in those days battery chickens and things was normal. You know, we're talking, I don't know, 50 odd years ago. And I looked at these poor chickens and my heart just sank. And then a farmer or somebody who was there said to me, you know, we could open the door and the chicken still wouldn't run out, because the chicken has got so used to its environment, even with an open door, it won't run out. It's too used to just being in this little cage. And I felt so sad. To this day, I think back and I think it's awful, really, to show school children that, but that's how they did it in those days. And the reason why I mention that story is because we are feeling frustration or anxious, or that there's something more out there for us, because we're starting to sense there's this kind of cage around us. And the cage has been built by this programming that we've been given, which we have no idea about. So first, we have to help you learn how to think, how to start to ask yourself questions and question the stories that are running in your head, the stories you've been given as a child. And at first, the coach, the mentor, myself, I'll be the questioner. I'll be the one who will interrupt that program that's running, interrupt that story, and sort of, well, you know, is that true? Or where did you get that from? Or when did you hear last that story? Or whatever it is, I will interrupt that programming and make you become conscious all of a sudden. And you'll say, well, I mean, it's just, that's how it works, isn't it? I mean, well, hang on a minute. I don't know. Now come to think of it, I don't know. I think I heard it here or I heard it there. So first, we start to help you to become conscious and to question what you're doing, to question everything you're doing, because you are running on autopilot. You start to learn and you start to realize, by being questioned and starting to become more conscious, that there are things that are holding you back that you didn't realize. So, well, actually, that's true. You know, I don't know why I think this. I don't know why I think that. And you start to become what I would call, and other people, I've heard other people say this, an observer. You learn to become an observer of yourself. Now, that certainly would have sounded a bit silly to me if someone had told me that years ago. Because it's like, I'm thinking, well, I can see myself in the mirror, but you're now doing things consciously, and you're learning as the observer to monitor yourself. It's almost like you're we help you learn to sort of jump out of yourself as a second person, and then you're looking at yourself almost in the third person, and you're observing yourself. I know that sounds really odd, and it takes a little while, practice basically, to get used to it. But I'm able to. It's like having a really good friend. So it's like a really good, honest friend who knows you literally inside out. I mean, if you're married and you've got a wonderful wife like I have, um, she can be an observer. And she will tell me things, of course, and then I'll stop in my tracks and I'm like, actually, I never thought of that. Actually, that's true. Or even, actually, I could do this or I could do that. I don't need permission. But you need to be able to do this for yourself. And you do it, and because you're doing it in the third person, you don't beat yourself up about it. Because this is one of the other things I found as you start coaching somebody. I would start to learn some things when I started to learn. And then I got a few bits of information about the mind. And then I want to be an expert in like 10 minutes. And I start trying to catch myself, and I'm thinking, right, am I saying this? No, I should be saying that. Right, I should be doing. Right, I should be. Now that's okay. And yeah, well, I drove myself absolutely bonkers, because all the time it was like I was like trying to like catch myself out, and then I was interrogating myself as to, now, was that a piece of programming? Was that a paradigm? Was that a habit? Is that serving me? Did I really think that? Am I conscious? So during those times, it's really good to have someone there to also help you, just not sort of like looking for ghosts behind you and jumping around. And you need someone who can help you become calm and settle, and just understand that it takes time to create these new habits, to start to understand how to observe things of yourself. And all of these things that you've had going on through your mind have been going on for years and have been very, very well programmed and are deeply embedded. But your true self, your true spirit, that purpose, that stirring within you, knows that there's something more. And that is what's brought you to someone like myself. So we would also help you to learn about, well, there's lots and lots of faculties, but one of them is perception. Because I certainly felt when I went to see a coach that I had a perception that the people who are successful don't have problems. I mean, if you've got loads of money, yeah, okay, you might have a problem now and again, but you're not going to give a damn because you've got gazillions of money, right? Well, it doesn't work that way. People who are seen to be amazingly successful, they all have problems. We all have challenges. If we don't have them, in fact, we actually realize, we start to learn during the coaching process that you just dry up. It's the very thing of challenge that inspires you to do the things that you do, to be human. We need challenge. But what happens is we start to look at it from a completely different point of view. It's almost like taking the telescope and switching it around the other way. As a coach, we also help you to understand about this thing called ego. And the ego is something in there that is an old program that is trying desperately to maintain the status quo. It's there to try and convince you shouldn't take any risks, You don't want to suffer any embarrassment. You don't want to suffer any failures. You really, things aren't that bad, and you're really making a storm out of in a teacup, and just it's fine. It's fine. You don't need to be doing this. You don't need to be listening to all this rubbish. You don't need to be thinking about what is energy and that we have purpose and that we've got all these amazing powers inside of us. And the ego will use everything it possibly can to keep the status quo, because that's what it does. And it operates best in your unconscious. I mean, most of the things you do all the time when you're goal setting and you're achieving new things, it will be something that we will have helped you to reinstall a program that serves you in your unconscious. We'll start to work out the things that don't serve you and work out the things that do serve you. And also the things that you're doing that you just think to yourself, that's just not me. I don't feel good about that. And that just does not feel, that's just not me. So the things that just don't feel your true self, and the things that also serve you. And the way we find out about what serves you and what doesn't serve you is we start to talk and understand, help you understand about purpose, about what you feel your true purpose is, and how to find your purpose, how to find that goal which has that feeling of purpose, this thing that you want to do. We're all good at things. We all have things that we're interested in all the time. Some of these interests you may have discounted and said to yourself, "Oh, I can't make any money at that. I can't make a living at that. I don't even know why I'm interested in it, but I love it." Well, we start to look into these things, and we take those things on board as far as your purpose as well. And you have to keep an open mind. The coach has to be someone that you feel you can trust. They have to be someone who you feel that they have your best interest. And that means sometimes when we're making people think, it may mean we really rattle your cage, as it were, because the programming inside is going to fight. It's going to put up a fight. It's going to try and keep you in an unconscious story. It's not going to want us to try and make you aware and allow you to be conscious sometimes. And because the current thoughts are being disrupted now, it will get really narky. And, there were times when I've got a bit annoyed with my coach because I'll start to question myself because of the things that they're telling me. And then I get frustrated because I'm thinking all sorts of things like, I don't know why, or gosh, why have I been doing this all this time? Or why, look, stop asking me questions. I want you just to tell me the answers. And I have to laugh because I'd get really annoyed. And then coaches will say things like, all the answers are inside of you. They're already within you. Now that used to really, really annoy me. I'm like, well, this is rubbish. I mean, I'm paying for a coach, and now they're telling me I already know all the answers. I mean, this is what a ripoff. I'm sorry, I can't help laughing, but it is really. It's almost like a cowboy trying to stay on a, when they have a new pony that hasn't been ridden before, and they have to hang on until it calms down. It feels like that sometimes, and it also feels like, well, this is wrong, but then this is wrong, and that's right, and you you may feel that everything you're hearing is kind of contradicting itself. That was one thing. I can't think of anything to hand right now, but I know I felt that way probably because the unconscious and the ego was having trouble trying to fight the questions with an answers that were appropriate. And of course, you would come out with an answer and you'd think, well, that's rubbish. Because this is the other thing. When we ask a client questions, obviously they're going to say something back to us. And then you're putting your thoughts into the physical world. You're saying things out loud. And by putting it out into the physical world, you hear yourself say it. And you're conscious then, and you start to hear yourself, and you think, what? Did I just say that? Well, that's a lot of rubbish. I mean, I just said that, and it doesn't make any sense. Even though you might be arguing for that point, once you've said it out loud, because of the powers you have within you, you hear this and you think, well, that's nuts. Because you're starting to become aware, you're starting to become conscious. But it's interesting. It's interesting. And to be honest with you, for me, this has been something that I know will be a lifetime of learning. That's why I always call myself at first a student. But it's something that you will, as you start to find what's really within you and the things that you can do and the harmony you can find in your life, even though outwardly circumstances, the world hasn't changed. You've changed. But it's something that you're always learning. You would never really stop. Once you really understand things, you will just continue to learn. And one of the things I found, I made a huge mistake, is you also learn, we help you to protect your energy. Because I found as I understood more and more about the powers within me, and I understood more and more about the programming and how we're all sent here to actually understand who we truly are. And the only way we can experience how to understand who we truly are is to not have that understanding when we first get here. But that is our true purpose. That is our higher purpose. It's actually to grow. Money, affluence, all those things, they can come along as well. But the real purpose we feel inside of us and that we experience is that we grow and we learn. But we will be surrounded by people who are still in that little chicken cage. And they're not aware of it. And I know I used to feel like, gosh, I wish I could just help these people, or you can see perhaps they're suffering or see the things that are going through, and if I could try and help them somehow, or just sort of point them in the right direction, or don't do it. Don't do it. Because you really have to feel that pull, that feeling that you want to step forward and that there's something more that you want to learn. And people generally go looking for somebody, some sort of mentor or coach. And there's lots of great people out there. Um, and I've had a number of different coaches. Um, Bob Bob Proctor was one of my coaches. He's passed away now, but of course his essence is still here, because one of the things you learn is that energy is omnipresent. That means his presence is always going to be here. That's one of those odd things, that people will say, and you'll think they're talking about religion, and we're not. If you look into science and you look into theology, you will find that everything about energy and all these things is actually right under our noses, and it's becoming more and more well understood. There's many more people who understand these things, but most of us still don't. So to protect your own energy, you don't try and convince somebody else, or don't try and get them to think. We really need to allow them when they're ready, and when they make that choice, when they're at that point that they want to start to understand more about what's within them, then they will feel it. And many people will never ever get to that point, because it could be perhaps they're an unconscious competent. And an unconscious competent is somebody who has grown up with habits that actually serve them. It serves them to have a very, affluent lifestyle, very comfortable, and they couldn't consciously tell you about how they do things. I just do it. I just do it. That's me. So they're just as programmed as the people who feel frustrated and unfulfilled, and they're just as unaware. It's just that they don't have that pull, perhaps, that's demanding them to want to know how they can get more. Some people do. Some people have made an awful lot of money and had tremendous success, but still want to know, there's something more inside of me. So they're either just going to stay completely within their programming, or they could be an unconscious competent. But just don't try to help, because it will just drain your energy. I tried it when I started to learn a few things, and I really felt for people, and I wanted to try and just point them in the right direction. I would try and help people, and they would just think I was nuts. I remember trying to give people a sense of increase, where you compliment people, or particularly waiters or waitresses, and it's not too bad with them, actually. If you have people who are already serving and you say, look, I really appreciate that, then generally they do take it as they're grateful for it, because sometimes they have grumpy people. But if I try to do that with someone I've just met, or just getting to know, and then they're not used to me, they'll look at me, and you can feel it in them. They're thinking, okay, what do you want? What are you up to? Because they wouldn't, their programming wouldn't allow them to understand that someone's just trying to leave them with a sense of increase, to leave them with a positive feeling. The programming in their minds will always say, there's some agenda, hidden agenda here with this person. So I've stopped doing that. A lot of this information that coaches, certainly myself, can share with you has been around for a very long time. Some of my favorite books are people like Neville Goddard, James Allen, Thomas Troward, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Eckhart Tolle. I love Eckhart Tolle. Some people call him Eckhart Tolle. Now, when I first listened to Eckhart, he was so slow and chilled. It was just too slow for me. I couldn't deal with it. But you find that, or I've found this anyway, that as your awareness changes, changes and you learn things, all of a sudden, things that didn't make sense to you from somebody before now start to make perfect sense. And certainly a lot about silence. About silence. There is so much power in silence. Eckhart does a lot of that. He's wonderful. But I've got people I recommended, to listen to him, and they just they still get frustrated. Bob Proctor, lovely, lovely man. But he used to freak me out when he was talking about God. I get it all now. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's got to do with our own spirit and what we've been given, what we truly have within us. And once you've got the information, you can make your own choices about these things, because no one's going to try and convince you. You see, the one last important thing about having a coach is that we can't do it for you. All we can do is share the information that's there. And every coach, if they're doing it right, will be telling you the same information. I mean, the universe works the way it works through universal laws. Energy works the way it works. Our mind is what it is, and it works in a certain way. Our faculties, our special powers that we have within us work the way they work. All we can do is explain things in our own way to find a way that resonates with you. And that's why it's important to find somebody who you feel you can trust and you feel that they resonate with you, because it's all the same thing. If you ever want to just have a chat sometime and talk about what you want to do with your life and why you've started to search for someone to help you, then I would love to do that. I would be honored to do that. And just, there's my email address there, paul@paulcunnington.com. Drop me a line and then we'll get on a Zoom call or something and we'll just talk about it. And we'll talk about you and what you're looking for. I love trying to do what I can to help people to understand the true powers they have within them. It's what I love. It's what I feel is my purpose. It's what gives me my best, highest feeling. And all I'd want to do is help you to do the same, to find your best, highest feeling purpose within you. Thanks for listening. This is Paul Cunnington. Bye-bye now.